In North Korea, a 19-year-old isn't given a career. He's given an assignment. For this defector, that assignment was driving the propaganda truck, a military vehicle with massive speakers bolted to the roof, broadcasting the regime's voice through the streets of Haeju every single day. He couldn't choose his job. He couldn't refuse. And when the truck broke down, he paid for repairs out of his own pocket while the slogans kept demanding sacrifice. Today, he tells us what it really costs to keep a dictatorship's voice alive. Join us in standing up for human rights. Subscribe to hear more stories of freedom. The first time I climbed into that truck, I was 19. Spring. Haeju, South Hwanghae Province. You may not know the name. It's an old port city where the Yellow Sea wind never quite stops, blowing a place with deep roots going back to the Goryeo dynasty. Some of you older folks might remember hearing about Haeju, naengmyeon, the cold noodles. I grew up in a small village near Cheongdan, just close enough to hear the Seongcheon River. We weren't wealthy, but we didn't go hungry either. My father worked at the fishery. My mother's whole world was her kitchen fermenting soybean paste, packing kimchi, living by the rhythm of the seasons. On early spring mornings, when she lifted the lid off the soy jar, that warm, earthy smell drifted all the way down the alley. I used to think that smell was home. It was her, really. At 19, they handed me an assignment: drive the propaganda truck. Some of you may not know what that means. Picture a military-style vehicle with massive speakers bolted to the roof. It crawled through the city streets, broadcasting party slogans, playing songs, delivering the leaders' speeches. Think of a wartime announcement truck, but louder. And every single day, one loop around Haeju, and every resident heard it, whether they wanted to or not. At the time, I thought it was just a driving job. Clock in at 7, follow the route, come home, wipe down the truck, done. Nothing special. I was just a guy behind a wheel. Then the Ninth Party Congress started looming, and everything shifted. Red banners appeared on every corner. New propaganda boards went up on every building. No matter where you walked, the slogans followed: uphold the party's cause, follow the leader's will. Broadcast runs jumped from twice a day to 3 times, then 4. I was out before sunrise and driving until dusk. That's when my supervisor, the propaganda secretary, pulled me aside. "Propaganda never stops," he said. "Not for rain, not for a broken engine. If it stops, you're the one we call in." I nodded. Back then, I believed everything the party said was right. You nodded, started the engine the next morning, and moved on. Then autumn came, and something felt off. The engine was struggling, so I filed a maintenance request with the higher office. A month passed, no response. That meant one thing: keep driving. And somewhere in that silence, a question formed in my mind. If this truck breaks down, whose fault is that? It seemed like a small question, but it stayed with me, and I didn't have to wait long for the answer. That morning, I can still see it. Early November. Haeju goes cold fast, the Yellow Sea wind cuts straight through. I was up at 5:30, pulled on my old army coat and headed to the lot. Even before I got there, something felt wrong. The engine had sounded different the night before. A subtle roughness. When you drive long enough, you feel it in your bones. Machines have moods. I stood in front of the truck and slid in the key. Once, nothing. Twice, the engine groaned, then died. 3 times, 4, 5, nothing. My stomach dropped. A dead car battery is an inconvenience anywhere else. In North Korea, a silent propaganda truck is something else entirely. It means the party's voice has stopped, and the person who silenced it was me. The clock kept moving. 30 minutes until the morning broadcast. I popped the hood alone, checked the battery terminals, the fuel line, anything I could think of. But I wasn't a mechanic. I couldn't diagnose it by sight. One by one, the other drivers arrived for their shifts. They took one look at me and looked away. Nobody came close. Nobody wanted to be part of whatever this was becoming. Then I heard footsteps, hard-soled shoes. Steady, measured. I knew that walk before I turned around. The propaganda secretary. 20 years in the party does something to the way a man moves: rigid, watchful, like he's always arriving to inspect. "Comrade, why is this truck still here?" Low voice. The angrier they are, the quieter they get. I turned and stood at attention. The engine won't start. Short answer. No excuses. That's what you learn to do. He looked the truck over without a word. That silence was worse than anything he could have shouted. In those few seconds, I could already see the whole chain of events unfolding: the report, the party review session, maybe worse. Morning light was spilling over the lot wall. It didn't feel warm. We pushed it by hand. The secretary called over 5 drivers. They lined up behind the truck, military style, palms flat against the steel. I climbed back into the cab. There's an old trick if you get enough speed and drop into gear, sometimes the engine catches. Old drivers know it. It used to be common, even in South Korea back when cars were younger and rougher. 1, 2, 3. The truck lurched forward. 5 men leaning hard. The lot floor was uneven, and the truck kept drifting. Sideways, someone had to jog ahead and steer the front by hand. The gate was open. The street was right there, and the street had people on it. Morning commuters. Some stopped. Some glanced and kept walking. In North Korea, you don't linger and stare. Someone might notice you noticing. But their eyes went to us anyway. A propaganda truck with a loudspeaker on its roof being shoved down the street by sweating? Men, that wasn't something you saw every day. 15 minutes passed. November, and I was dripping. The men behind me were breathing hard. One of them let go for a moment, bent to catch his breath, then glanced at the secretary and grabbed the truck again. Then the engine caught. A rough, shuddering roar. I tapped the accelerator just enough to keep it alive. The men stepped back all at once. Someone exhaled relief, exhaustion, I couldn't tell. I looked up. Second floor window of the building across the street. A party official stood there, arms folded, watching. No anger on his face. Just watching. That was worse somehow. Anger means you registered as a person. That look said we were components, pieces of machinery that had briefly malfunctioned. The truck pulled out. Slogans poured from the speakers. The voice was bold and bright, but I knew what it had taken to make that voice happen. This wasn't an accident. It was humiliation, and every ounce of it would land on me. I already knew that too. The broadcast ran its full course. I drove every stop on the route. The speakers worked fine. The slogans rang clear through the streets. Residents walked by with their eyes forward. The same as always. No one lifted their head in awe. No one flinched. It was background noise, wallpaper for the morning commute. I couldn't have told you what the slogan said that day. My mind was already on what came next. I parked and was called in immediately. The secretary's office was small. A worn desk, a portrait of Kim Il-sung on the wall, the secretary seated behind it. I stood at the door, at attention. He said nothing. He flipped through papers without reading them. I'd seen this before, it's a technique. Make the other person sweat first. Officials in North Korea use it like a tool. Some of you probably remember a boss who could fill a room with dread just by staying quiet. Why was this truck in such poor condition? Not a question, an accusation. I told him the truth calmly, without backing down. Filed a maintenance request a month ago. No response. Parts were never delivered. He listened. His expression hardened. Does that sound like a reason to you? He said. Or an excuse? I had no answer. The gap between those two, words, reason, and excuse, was exactly where I was standing. Say the truth and it becomes an excuse. Stay silent and it becomes an admission. Neither side was safe. Later, I found out the secretary had been called in, himself by the city party office. Why was today's broadcast late? He hadn't blocked the parts. He hadn't cut the budget. But he caught the blame anyway. So he passed it down to me. From top to bottom, then bottom to further down. That's how responsibility traveled in that system. The verdict maintained the truck better. One more incident, and it goes to a formal party review session. That was it. No repair budget. No parts. Just a heavier responsibility and a closer eye on me. A state vehicle on paper. In reality, everything that kept it running was my problem. Worn parts, my problem. Low fuel, my problem. Engine failure, my problem. Walking out of that office, a single thought settled in my chest. This isn't a job. It's a weight. I didn't yet know how heavy that weight would get. There's a phrase in North Korea, jucha, self-reliance. You may have heard it before. Simple enough in theory, stand on your own 2 feet. In practice, it means what the state can't provide, you figure out yourself. I was a propaganda truck driver, no exceptions. The truck was state property. On paper, serial numbers, registration, departmental assignment, all official. But who actually paid to keep it running? That was the real question. Parts wore out and none came down from above. Fuel allocations existed, but they were laughable, never enough to finish a full day's route. I made up the difference. There were informal markets, jangmadang, scattered throughout the city. Think of a street bazaar that grew out of necessity after the state rations collapsed. You could find almost anything there. Fuel, parts, bootleg supplies from China. The catch, you needed cash. My monthly salary was worth maybe 2 or 3 pounds of rice. At first, I went to my mother. She handed me money without a word dug out from behind the kimchi jars. Her hands were rough and cracked from years of market work, scraping together coin by coin. I still see those hands. That lasted a few months. When her savings ran dry, I needed another way. Word among the other drivers was that options existed, but none of them were clean. Parts were the same story. When the engine belt looked close to snapping, I scoured the Jangmadang myself. Chinese-made parts moving through unofficial channels. Some months I cut back on food to cover the cost. Not starving, just never full. A strange feeling crept in. The better the truck ran, the hollower I felt. The louder the slogans rang, the thinner my wallet got. The party's voice was tireless and triumphant, and the person keeping it alive was slowly being ground down. State vehicle. Sure, but the state wasn't what made it move. My mother's jar money was. My empty dinner bowl was. After I understood that, the slogan started sounding different. All kinds of things happen when you drive a propaganda truck long enough. Rain got into the speakers once, and the voice came out warped and crackling. An old tape stretched out and the slogans came through in slow motion, like a record dying. One summer, the amplifier overheated and the volume just fell off a cliff mid-route. The problem wasn't the breakdowns. It was who found out first. The phone would ring at the secretary's desk. Why was the sound weak today? He'd hang up and come for me, voice already sharpened by the call above. I'd get it mid-drive on a radio, or find myself summoned the moment I pulled back into the lot. Why was it quiet today? I heard that question more times than I can count. Amplifier issue. Why didn't you check it beforehand? Old speakers? Isn't that the driver's responsibility? Bad weather. The other trucks were fine. Whatever I said, the blame landed on me. So I developed a habit. I drove with my ears split in two. Half on the road, half on the sound coming out of those speakers. Was the volume dropping? Was anything cutting out? I'd eat dinner and replay the day's audio in my head. I'd lie awake before sleep, mentally reviewing the broadcast. Some of you probably know what it's like to carry that kind of tension in your body. Ulcers, insomnia, that permanent knot in your stomach. Around this time, I stopped enjoying food. Then the 9th Party Congress preparations kicked into gear, and the broadcast schedule nearly doubled. More runs, same broken equipment, same fuel shortage. My mother's jar was long empty. That's when one of the other drivers pulled me aside. "Hey," he said, low and quick, eyes checking the perimeter. "Some guys drive parts for the officials. Private errands. There's something in it for you." I understood immediately. Use the propaganda truck to haul personal loads for party officials, moving furniture, transporting market goods, running errands. In return, rice, sometimes cash. Strictly forbidden. State vehicles for personal use. That was a violation you didn't walk away from lightly. Everyone knew it. Everyone did it. The secretary knew. The officials knew. They looked the other way because something always moved in the other direction first. I stood there and didn't answer. If the truck stops, my life stops. To keep the truck moving, I have to step outside the rules. But the moment I step outside, I can be grabbed at any time. No safe ground anywhere. That night, my mother's face came to me, her hands reaching behind the jar. Something strange about this job, everyone knew how miserable it was. Long hours, no money, equipment you had to fix out of your own pocket. None of it was a secret inside the Haeju propaganda department. And yet people wanted it. Not just one person. 2, maybe 3, I heard, were quietly pushing through connections to take my seat. My first reaction was disbelief. You want this? But sitting with it longer, I understood what I'd been missing. In North Korea, almost no one drives. Most people go their whole lives without touching a steering wheel. A vehicle means mobility. Mobility means possibility. Remember what the other driver told me? About hauling for officials? What looked humiliating at first was actually something else entirely. Help a secretary's cousin move apartments, get 5 liters of rice, deliver market goods for a senior official, come home with a sack of corn. Some days, cash. Multiple times what a monthly salary offered. The people after my seat weren't after the truck. They were after the network that came with it. Run enough errands for enough officials, and you become someone they recognize. Recognition means a phone call returned when you need something. In North Korea, knowing the right people isn't a perk, it's survival. Some of you remember when it worked that way here too. When a familiar name got you the hospital appointment, the job, the apartment. Slowly, I was drawn into that world myself. Just once, I told myself. The fuel situation was desperate. I helped move some things for someone connected to the secretary. The following month, the secretary's tone shifted 1 degree warmer. Phone calls about minor sound issues stopped coming. Things that used to set off alarms just disappeared. That was the system. Play by the rules and you barely survive. Step outside them and you can breathe. Step outside and you become entangled. Entangled and people cover for each other. Covered, and the whole thing spins forward. Live clean, lose everything. Live dirty, keep a little. Does that make any sense? On the days that thought dug into me, I couldn't shake it. The slogans coming out of my speakers felt like a personal offense. We are one. The party and the people are one. One? Then why does one person have a truck to load and another person drive that truck while worrying about fuel? Nobody in Haeju had an answer. One morning, I started the engine like any other day. It caught. Music came through the speakers. I pulled out onto the familiar route. The streets slid past. People walked fast, eyes forward, nobody listening. That morning, for the first time, I actually heard the sound. Not the words, the sound itself. I thought about where it really came from. There's a tape, an amplifier, a speaker, a truck to carry them, a driver behind the wheel, someone buying fuel, someone sourcing parts, someone lying awake at night worrying whether the volume was right. The regime's voice was made by people. The people at the very bottom. I understood driving that route that this country didn't run on slogans. It ran on human beings fed into the machine one at a time. The voice at the top was always confident. The bodies at the bottom were always wearing out. Would the propaganda truck stopping bring the system down? No. The thing that always stopped was people. That night, I sat with my mother and said something I'd never said out loud. I talked around it. Said the life was too hard. Said I wanted to go somewhere else. She was quiet for a long time. Then she lifted a pot onto the stove and said, "Low and even. Just go alive." Alive. That was all. Not permission. Not a warning. Just go alive. I carried those words in my chest from that night forward. Months of preparation. I found someone who knew the route near the Tumen River. I saved money and sold fuel I'd siphoned from the truck to add to it. The night before I left, I went to the lot and wiped down the truck one last time. I wasn't sure why. That machine had taken so much from me. But standing there at the end, I felt something. You don't spend years with something without leaving a piece of yourself in it. I crossed at dawn. The water was cold. By the time it reached my knees, my feet stopped feeling anything. I kept my mother's words in my head. Go alive, alive. When my feet touched the other side, I realized I'd been holding my breath the whole way across. I let it out slowly. No sound, no slogans, no speakers, no secretary's phone call. Just the river behind me and my own breathing. I didn't know if the cold was making my eyes wet or something else. I just stood there. Haeju, the truck, my mother's jar, all of it on the other side of that water. I had crossed with nothing in my hands. Silencing the regime's voice didn't take anything dramatic. All it took was walking across a river.